Okay, so there's a lot we can touch on there, but one thing you said that caught my attention was the military-industrial complex. Tell me more about what you mean when you say that.
Well, it's really as Eisenhower described it. And we were talking earlier about a book, JFK and the Unspeakable. I think it's interesting, Bobby Kennedy in his The Real Anthony Fauci book, documentary on his book, it starts out with Eisenhower's speech, where Eisenhower warned America to beware of the military-industrial complex. Now, Eisenhower warned Kennedy. He didn't do anything about it when he was president. He just pretty well dumped that in Kennedy's lap. And I think we've been experiencing the fallout ever since. But again, you're talking about the corporate interests, the weapons manufacturers. It's obviously in their benefit to go to war,
because we've been involved.
How else can I say that? I mean, the war machine suits their interests, and I think we need to be careful of anybody who has a financial interest of pushing America into these foreign entanglements.
I just read a book about World War I, and it was told from multiple sides of the story: the Germans, the French, the British, the Americans, the Russians. And the theme across it all to me was all these young men sacrificing their life, starving to death, getting diseases in the trenches. Well,
for what?
For what?
For what?
And while the leaders of the country were dining lavishly, and the lords and the earls of the British got to wear their fancy uniforms and not really go into danger. And when I see young men being used as kind of a profit arm of the government, it's very disheartening. What would be your take on that?
Well, take a look at the wars fought recently. And then was the situation made better because of the war? Now, take a look at the Gulf War. Did that improve the Middle East? Did that keep Iran in check? Prior to blowing up Iraq, Iraq was a check on the mullahs in Iran. So now we don't have a check on that. Now we're concerned about Iran becoming a nuclear power. Afghanistan. I'd like to think that the U.S. president had some benefit in terms of allowing little girls to go to school and the lessening the brutality of the Taliban. But here you are, 20-some years later, now the Taliban are back in control. Well, and women are losing their rights. Take a look at what's happening in Ukraine today. I don't know. I literally do not know. Even though I was here, U.S. Senator, I was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Subcommittee on Europe. I've been to Ukraine multiple times. I thought Zelensky was a real deal. But I don't know to what extent the U.S. really fomented the revolution of dignity. Now, I know the Ukrainian people want freedom. They want what we have. They want to be, Western leading. They want to integrate with the Western economies, and they want to kind of leave the corruption of Russia behind. But, recognizing spheres of influence, the fact that Ukraine's right on Russia's border, I mean, should we have been poking the eye of the bear there? Should we have been helping foment a revolution that overthrew a government that, certainly was helpful to Putin? What's been the result? You have that revolution of dignity. Russia feels, whether you think it's justified or not, they feel threatened, so they invade Crimea to protect their naval base there. Then they invade eastern Ukraine. Then they eventually invade all of Ukraine. And now we're just watching the just bit-by-bit destruction of Ukraine. Did it work? So, again, we're not retrospective that way. We don't sit and go, okay, what did we do? What were involved in? And by the way, most of that involvement is secret. I don't know to what extent we fomented that. I mean, that was back there in the old, Burisma time frame under the Obama administration, Victoria Nuland and Vice President Biden going over there and being the, I don't know to what extent we helped foment.
When you say secretive, are you talking like our intelligence agencies might be involved in stoking things up?
Just even our State Department. To what extent are we ramping up the public displeasure and kind of help foment these revolutions? Now, again, I don't know, but all I'm saying is go back and take a look at what has been the result. Listen, I was supportive of the Ukrainian people. I thought the revolution of dignity was probably a good thing. They wanted to shed the legacy of corruption. That's what that was mainly about. They wanted a less corrupt society. They wanted to integrate with the West so they have greater freedom and greater prosperity. But that wasn't Vladimir Putin's design. And then you just take a look at what the result was, and the result's been awful. I mean, how many people lost their lives now in Ukraine? Where's the end in sight to that conflict? So I'm just saying we need to be retrospective of what history has shown us. Try not to repeat it, but unfortunately, I think we repeat it time and time again.